Okay, well, to the Inforunners, I'm execute joined today by Argo. How you doing? I know you're tired. The midweek stuff we don't like to do because Argo, I'm like calling him, Argo, you need to get home. Argo, you need to get home. We've got ships to talk about. And like, he's like, I'm the first person you called, and I've had like 100 calls. So we basically.
It's also he's calling me. I'm at school. No, but it wasn't just execute. It was like hospitals and randoms, and you know other important people were calling. Yes, I put you in the important people category. Execute.
Yeah, what's wrong with you? You seriously need to go get something else now. Right. Anyway, we'll kick it over to the game. So we've actually got two things to look at today. They have released two little vehicles, and there's a couple of other little bit of information. Actually, what I might do is start with the other little bit of information. I didn't actually prepare for this, so it's going to be a little bit of chaos, as it normally is with me. But long story short, in the files, what they have found is there is an event coming called Workers' Week, much like, I don't know, Alien Week, right? So I think what that is they're essentially going to be doing a sale that provides the stuff that was missed because it's not at Invictus. That sounds pretty logical to me. I think you would agree with me on that. I know you well enough.
It sounds like the type of thing you'd have if you were also looking at pushing a cargo Olympics.
Yes, something akin to that. Yeah. So essentially, there's a bunch of skins for a lot of industrial ships, and including these two new ones. And I think what I'm starting to see, and I could be completely wrong, this is just speculation, right, is essentially these two ships coming at Workers' Week, then we'll probably get something at Alien Week, and we'll probably get something at Invictus itself. And we also know there's an event around Invictus, right? So I think this is to kind of pick up the slack that there's not been, you haven't been able to get the Endeavour at Invictus, for example, or you haven't been able to get the mole. Oh my god, the mole's available all the time. You get on trust, but the mining vehicles and stuff like that. And I think the other piece of news. Oh, go ahead.
But the things that we've teased already, because we had it in the background at the beginning of the episode. This also indicates we're now still on track for a vehicle, a mech, or ship every month.
Yeah, well, we got 10 days left in the month in Australia, or a bit more, so it's totally possible. And the patch is pretty stable in the PTU. It's open to everyone right now, though only Evocati can kind of use these things, but most Evocati people are so nice they'll pull it out so anyone can have a look. I spent probably an hour today showing people around myself and stream it on Discord so people could see as well. So but yeah, anyway, so what this also, the other part of this that I want to talk about before we go into the actual ships is this kind of really concretely confirms now they are starting to do more double ups. Now, they always kind of said they were never going to do that too much later, but now with the Starlancer, the Galaxy, the Fortune, the Vulture, now this and the Prospector, I think we can safely kind of confirm with the Golem coming in. We've got 3 instances of this now. It's not a speculation.
The later has arrived.
Yeah.
It's basically the situation. So COG said we won't do double ups until much later. Well, much later is here.
Yeah,
and it also ties in, I think, with building that quality of life, that playability, that all of those things. So it just ties in with everything they've said they're going to do, and I think we're seeing them do it.
Yeah. So Argo has not had a chance to look at these at all. He's completely going in nude as hell, and I'm
going on the tidbits that have been dangled teasingly in front of me.
As I would do, and I told him very little. He's basically seen what you guys saw at the start, and that's it. So he hasn't really seen anything. So I'm actually going to leave the suit to last, Argo, because I actually think it's not the suit itself that's interesting. It's the implications of that suit that you will be impressed by. So that's what we'll look at the end. Yeah. Right. As for this, right? The Golem. Now, I'm not a big fan of the name. I would have called it the Precious or something like that. It's obviously some kind of Lord of the Rings reference with, precious stones and mining and stuff like that. What I can tell you that I've learned about it today, right? So it has a different form of cargo canisters. They are essentially a circular drum inside a box. They are 16 SCU from what I can gather. There are 2 of them. putting it exactly on par with the Prospector. So this is essentially identical as I can tell. There is at the moment mining head on it, but we are not sure if it swaps or not. The rumors flying around is it could be bespoke, but we do not have one way or the other information in that. Then as for animations, there is no, or not animations, interior, there is no interior. It essentially is a mix of mule or a CSV animations and getting into the Shrike. So they've essentially got the height of the chair for the Shrike to get in, and then basically they're using the door animations off the mule and things like that, right?
Now, one of the things I did like as we were walking up the back, as you were walking up the back, I thought, oh, this is a cutter. So you can actually see, like even looking at it, I can see the cutters in there, and they've ripped it apart.
Yeah. That's where they would have. Well, that's where they would have started, because they've even got these little wing things. I'm pretty sure they started with a carter and then expanded, and it even looks like they've kit bashed some things possibly from the raft. You know, they've ripped the very raft looking or Argo cab. It's also a mule cab, so you can tell that they've kit bashed the hell out of this and then gone back and put it all together. So it's really, I don't know, I really like the look of it, but it will not be for everyone.
So is this a jalopy?
It is a little bit, but I'll show some cool features, right? So it's actually got 2 gun racks, one either side. I won't bother opening up the other side at the moment, which is kind of interesting. No, it doesn't want to close on me. There we go. Close. Yep. And that there's not. I haven't been able to find any storage. There it is. There actually there is some storage. I probably should have had a better look. I did not have a look exterior. What I did was I actually went out and did a lot of mining in it, because I really wanted to see what the difference was. And I'm going to be honest, it is very similar to a Prospector. The big difference, though, is it is a lot smaller. I'd say it's about at least 2/3 the size, but you essentially don't get a bed and you don't get a kitchen and you get no internals. So that's the compromise. And I would assume, based on that, because it does not have the interior to match, that it is going to be vastly cheaper. What do I mean by that? The Prospector at 155, I'd expect this somewhere to be in the ballpark of 125 to 145. That's kind of what I'm expecting. But also they did. Go ahead.
Just looking at this, given that it's small and no bed and the rest of it, and it's based on a cutter, this is an advanced. This is the real advanced starter. This is the beginner mining craft.
Yeah, I am kind of hopeful for it to be around $100, but with the functionality it has, right? Because realistically, I don't think you really need the bed in the kitchen, because you are going to such you've only got 32 SCU, right? You just don't have to go that far to use the bed. It puts the Prospector in this league where you can travel as you mine. So like you're essentially like warping to another system, picking up some stuff, dropping it off, making some money, refueling yourself as you kind of travel. But you could technically do that in this and just stay at the stations, right? So it does have that advantage that you don't have to hire, pay for your bed and stuff. But it's such a small thing that I can almost look past it.
Such a small thing means it's likely to fit in a lot of ships.
Yeah.
And so any ships that have refinery capabilities have a hangar.
I've been hearing that a lot today about the Ironclad. Like you could put multiples of this in the Ironclad as an example.
Well, I was even thinking of a Galaxy with its mining component, possibly being able to get that in the hangar.
Yeah. So as you can see, the entryway is very much like the Mule, the Shrike, and the CSV. So it's on point. But that's it. There is no actual internals at all. It's very comfy. It's got a really cool Drake HUD that I really like. I'm probably take this out at the end, fly around. But this is the thing. This is my nitpick, right? This is probably the only thing I don't like about it, and it's the way the arm comes out. And it's going to sound so stupid, but it comes out on this little train, then connects to the front, and then the arm deploys out from there. And my thinking was, why doesn't the arm just fold back like that and fall into the hole? It would have been much simpler, because I'm going to be honest, that doesn't look Drake. It looks complicated.
No.
And
that looks overly complicated.
Yeah, and Drake don't do complicated.
No, they generally, that's one of the reasons why we
Yeah.
don't have lining in the ships, or we don't have escape pods, because it's
But it does seem to come out quite a far away from the ship. So, and obviously it's different because you are sitting under it, not above it like you are on the Prospector, which is really interesting. It also explains why a lot of the HUD has been reworked for mining recently. We thought it was for the event. It was obviously for these ships. You can also still do VTOL, and both the front one, you'll notice, rotates, and the back one. But other than that, that's really it. It's pretty much on par with the Prospector in every other way. As I said, the SCU, I think, will be interesting because you could obviously it's not going to work with the Expanse, like not be compatible. And these are the other interesting things. You have multiple bags that can pop off on the Expanse, right? So technically that's got double that capacity. It's actually got 64 SCU and the internals. So I think when you start to think of the pop-off bags, I think it does bring this price down even more. I want to be around $100, but I just can't physically push it there. I think it's too low, but I'd love it to be that low. Because again, once you take these two bags off, because the way I think of it is if these are 16 SCU cargo crates, right, you could technically have two empty ones in a Cutlass as an example, because I'm trying to think of other Drake ships, right? And that's the biggest one that can carry a 16 SCU cargo container, or the first one that can. And then you bring that out, it's got two empty ones in it, you tractor them out, pull these off, put them in, put the new ones on. So you could still kind of get away with it, right? You don't really need the Expanse to keep doing that mining thing.
No, well, the advantage of the Expanse with its containers is the fact that you can keep mining and swap the bags out. This one, you actually need a second ship to be able to do the swap the bags. It's a bit like the Prospector. The Prospector's got the extra bags, but once you fill them, you drop them off and then start again. But then you end up with all these bags floating around, which you've got nowhere to put them.
So as you can see, the thrusters are really cool when it comes. They're very expansive, if you get what I mean, like the box kind of thing. So yeah.
So I can see an advantage for those ships that have got the internal storage, but have got the extra bags, etc., which put them a cut above, I think, the Prospector, where it's just got to drop its bags off. And this is in that same category. You've got to drop the bags off if you want to continue.
Well, it doesn't make like a new kind of cargo crate. It has its own, and it works with all the other SCU. So I think it kind of not just dovetails with other Drake ships better, but also other ships better because of the way it works. But again, it also kind of almost, I'm not saying it will, but it doesn't need the refinery as much. Obviously, containing will still be a problem, but it also makes me think: are they going to have a Drake refinery? Are they going to have a bigger Drake vehicle? Things like that come out, because now we've got a Drake miner that changes the lineup quite a lot, doesn't it? Like you start to think in different ways of how it's going to affect it.
And I know, Drake can do that because they're trying to break into different fields. They're a new company. They've tried to break into the military. It didn't really work for them, so they're trying something else. But where they are on Magnus and being a world with lots of scrap and everything, they're into salvage, and to me, that seems to be the real advantage of Drake, where they're salvage experts. And I'd love to see them do more of that rather than branch out into different areas. But I'm sure the Drake fans out there want Drake to go into everything, because that's what you like with your favorite manufacturer. You want it to do more.
All right. The Argo Geo. Now, I will say that this does not tread on the toes of the Atlas. It is called technically the Argo Atlas Geo. I also think it kind of shows that there are going to be other Titan suits from other manufacturers, believe it or not, and I'll explain why in a minute. You'll see for yourself. I'm going to see if I can get Algrid to do a penny drop moment, because I did that earlier today and people got it. And knowing Algrid, he's very good at this and he will get it straight away. Anyway.
No, I'm also very tired, which means I probably won't.
Challenge accepted. That's all I heard. Right. So straight off the bat, it's because it's a miner. It also outputs. We've got to get into the right position to get this to come out. So it's got a weapon rack that comes out the bottom. so you can actually have a gun on it. It's got a sign here that says tractor, and it appears to have a mount there for a tractor beam. And I didn't look on the other one, so there's a gadget on the other side as well. So it can actually carry a fair bit of stuff. But earlier on, I got it to, I'll get it to open. I think this is where it actually outputs the mining materials, which is about, I'd say it's about 1 SCU. Excuse me. I'm getting hiccups. Just had my dinner. Right. So I'll show the other standard stuff, right? Before I get into the really cool stuff, right? Right. So
he hasn't got to the really cool stuff yet. Right. Okay.
We're getting to the really cool stuff now. Right. Here we go. So typical mining interface that's been updated. You'll see that it's got the mining laser, much like the rock. Yeah. You can also do the extraction beam. Very typical type of things. Now, this is where I think it's going to change the game now, Argo, right? So here we go. Ready? I'm going to do a run, and then I'm going to jump.
Oh.
Now, do you want to tell people what that means? If you figured it out.
That's a very nice little jumpy type astro. Yeah. Rockets and
so it's got multiple implications, right? You can have different tech levels, obviously, much like the different tech levels of the hand carts or the drones or the tractor beams. So you can also have different tech levels of Titan suits. You can also have like different classes. So you can have like a heavy, a medium, and a light. The light one could jump even further, have less armor, stuff like that. But the other one that really comes to mind is essentially it's a jetpack. So essentially you could just have an EVA pack type of thing that you put on yourself. Now you can jump out of a plane and you can land on the ground. You can, before you hit the ground, you turn it on, obviously.
I know this is something that we talked about years and years ago as we were kind of dreaming as to what would be a certain thing for a certain large ship. And a salvage version of this.
Yes.
Would be a perfect cutter for the reclaimer.
Yes.
Very, very, and that would be very much in line with the reclaimer's Nostromo vibe.
I told John Crew, you were there when I did. I said, well, you need to call it the gutter then, because he didn't want to call it the cutter, and I said, well, you got to call it the gutter, and he had a good chuckle.
Yeah, he did. But I could see that being very much a salvage.
So the other thing is, it is very how do I put this? It's very momentum based. So if I just press space and then try to move forward, I don't, right? So you've kind of got to have that inertia. That's the word I was looking for, inertia. So if I'm running and then press, it will jump forward, right? And it's a hold the space key. So if you kind of just tap it, it'll be a very small jump. So see, very small. And it also, you can do it backwards, forwards, side to side, everything. Yeah. So whatever that momentum is, you will travel in that area. But I think you'll kind of agree with me, not so wow that it's a Titan suit that mines, but you now take that and apply it to every other Titan suit and other gameplay. Ramifications are massive.
Oh, well, like I said, I automatically see that as a salvage version.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've even got the little case at the back so you can put stuff. If you've got a gadgets and tractor beams, it means you could also be carrying, ripping stuff out and carrying it. I'm
going to be honest with you, Grid, it could literally, because they've added some new tool heads in, like tier 0 tool heads, specifically for this. So if they just added salvage tool heads and it's a collector, it could technically be the same suit.
It could, yeah.
This arm on this side doesn't actually kind of do anything, but if I do get out, give me a second, it does have new component ports. So the really interesting thing about this arm is there is actually a component port on it. But the arm doesn't really do anything, because if you think about it, it's the same cargo arm, but you're not, there's no tractor beam on it. Like, I know you've got this tractor beam attachment on the back, so that pretty much, I won't say it's definite, but why would you have one on the back if you've got one on the suit? Do you know what I mean? It just seems a bit superfluous. So I would have liked to have seen a tractor beam on it as well. It would have been handy for moving things around and stuff. Like, you could have.
I think if it put the tractor beam on that, though, it would have just
tried on the Atlas. Yeah,
tried on the Atlas too much. People would be,
Yeah.
go mining in that. I see this being hopefully heralding the return of gem mining on asteroids.
Yep.
I haven't seen, when I've gone mining recently, I haven't seen any. It's been a long time since I've seen the gems appear on the asteroids.
Yep.
And maybe I'm just doing it wrong.
Yep.
No, it's been a long time since I've seen them.
I don't even go out to the asteroids anymore. I go to planets and stuff like that. So that's a little different for me. I'm just opening some skins here real quick. So these are some of the skins they found for the ship. I'm just going to flick us over to. Hopefully this doesn't crash on me. It is going to crash on me. It isn't. It is. It isn't. It's loading. Okay. All right, there we go. So they're obviously you got the default there in the middle. This one here is very similar to the one that was on the Scout, and this one here a lot of people believe is the Concierge one. I think that'll probably be the hot favorite because it's just very dark and it'll hide you very well. This is the Workers Week one here in the middle, and a lot of the Workers Week ones for like they had the Fortune and a few other the industry ships. They have that one. You can obviously see here these other two are from other Scout ones. I believe this one was the Rambler, and this one was one of the other default skins. So they're essentially you can see why they've done it. They've just taken the Data Forge stuff that was already on the cutter and copied it out. It's full lazy mode. Yeah, that's kind of about almost everything I've got to show you.
I would say full lazy mode sounds like you're having a dig. It's more full efficiency mode. Full efficiency mode.
That's probably a better way to do it. But I think the connotations are pretty large across the bait. Like I'm just going to open a couple more here. I've got some very small, tiny ones. So this is just to show you. This is a mole one, and the other one there is the Prospector as well. So, very similar to the Christmas ones, to be honest. The Christmas ones being more tealy and white. These are, a light blue and white. These are a darker blue and white. So you can kind of see that they're very similar, though.
Yeah, well, Old Man Hurston, I'm sure, is a bit annoyed at these workers' skins because that just promotes the United Workers Union. And we all know how much he dislikes that union. Because of the nasty things they do, but yeah, it's nice to see. It always is nice to see new stuff come. It's always nice to see stuff that has implications for gameplay. Certainly that the Workers Week. I can see that tying really closely into events like a Cargo Olympics or cargo stacking, competitions or.
Well, I'm having a couple of CIG guys that are messaging me and they're saying things like, oh, you're going to be loving the ships coming this week. And they know that it drives me nuts because they know that I don't know and it drives me bananas.
Oh, yeah.
So but when they're saying things like...
likes flirting.
Yeah, yes, exactly. Well, that's why I called it, because he keeps flirting. The guy that's flirting with you is also flirting with me. He's a floozy. It's
going to be a fun year.
Yeah.
We're watching you. We're watching you.
Yeah. So again, if they're saying things like they're excited about all the stuff coming down the pipe, like I'm pretty excited to see what's coming. So I think a lot of the ships on that blue silhouette or curtain will be there, and obviously
the other thing that's of note with these is I don't think we saw these coming in terms of stuff that had been announced or stuff. You had to go mining for it, and so and I think certainly the suit that's only really come out in the data mining since it's been dropped into.
Yeah, these all pretty much dropped today. They came up around about lunchtime our time. So just to give you guys an idea, it hasn't even been 9 hours since this stuff dropped.
Yeah,
when we're recording.
From my understanding, this stuff is stuff that they weren't getting the mined material for it until they dropped.
So yeah, much like the Fortune, I think with the Golem, we're going to see a lot more about this ship going down the line, its pros, its cons, where it stands. I think it's going to speak a lot to Drake people. I think it is a lot more evident how different this is from the Fortune was to the Prospector. The Fortune to the Vulture. Because we still don't know if the Fortune kind of mulches. Obviously, they'll come out and tell us that as that feature comes along to be worked on in the future. But being in the same price, you have to imagine there's something there that we're not seeing. I think with this, there's a clear evidential difference with interior versus none. And I think, I don't know, in your mind, where do you think this would roughly sit? I know you haven't had the same amount of time as I have, but I'd just like to get your thoughts.
Look, I think based on the fact that it's got the same cargo capacity in terms of the bags
Yep.
as the Prospector, but it lacks an interior. It's certainly a smaller ship. The fact that it's just a cab tells you that it's designed for short range, or designed to be almost a snub of a mothership. It's meant to have a mothership or a home base where it's constantly going to. To me, that says it's a starter ship, and that pulls the price right back. And so I would hope, much like you, if you're looking at the cutters, which are about $50-$60, actually I think they're
hold that thought for
now.
Hold that thought for 10 seconds, because I've got this really janky picture I want to show you, but that shows you from above what they look like. It's quite different in size, right? And when you look at it like that, like I know I said 2/3, I'm talking length, but also if you start to look at width and stuff like that, I'd almost say it's half the size.
Oh yeah, like
Almost.
given the size comparison as well, and I was already saying it looked cutter sized.
Yeah.
Given the size, given the price of the cutters around $60-$70, I think for the top of the line version, I would expect this to be at most 100.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm hoping for, but my brain is fighting it because I just know better. Like I just have this thing where, yeah. So my instinct's landing around 125 to 145, somewhere in there. I could be wrong.
The other thing
but,
that I think is interesting is those weapon racks on the side.
Yep.
Why do you need weapon racks on a ship like this?
Combat mining
ship.
Combat mining, bro. Combat mining.
Unless, no, look, you're doing space mining. You're not going to need you're not going to get out of your ship to grab your gun to do that. That's a planetary type defense.
It might also, you might be able to put mining tools in there, like hand mining tools and stuff as well. It is a weapons rack, so yeah. But again, if you're in a lawless place, you might need a gun. So yeah, it's just got 2 Badger repeaters for the actual guns. There are 2 kind of sensor things on it. I don't know what they're for yet. I'm assuming that's going to have something to do with actual scanning when that kind of comes in. Yeah, it's just it's very different and unexpected. Like unlike the Fortune that is essentially like a clone, or you could see it was an onboarding task. This is, you can kind of see it's a bit more than that, but it is, you can see they started at a cutter and it's about a cutter and a half long. So you can see that they've kind of cut the cutter in half, took off the back but kept the fins, and then put a different roop on, and then chucked 2 cargo crates essentially up under it, and that would have been the kit bash, and then off they went.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. But it does look. Not being a full-on Drake fan, I do like the look of that. I like the feel, and if the cutter and this are really the direction that the new CEO of Drake are taking them, then they are pulling away from that salvage mindset. They are pulling away from that piracy aspect and going into more, I think, more legal, being seen more of the legal thing. And maybe that's, as a law thing, that's the company's new direction. They'll go down these lines, build up their reputation, and then apply for those coveted military contacts.
They're also
get into Invictus.
They're also a very young company too, aren't they? They're about, I think we worked out, was like 130 years old or something like that. Yeah.
When you read the law, 140 years old, John Dredge was the founder, right? And then they get replaced by the new CEO. So it's if I remember correctly, the new guy's the second CEO.
Yeah, that's pretty short.
That's how young the company is. So
yeah. So yeah, what would you like to hear from people in the comments below, Agri? Because I think there's going to be a lot of discussion about this one. I think it's got a bit more appeal than the Fortune because it's just a little bit different. But yeah, what's your thoughts on that? And what do you think?
Yeah. Okay. So what basic answer? What do you think of the Golem? Obviously, it's for mining gems because that's why it's a Golem.
Yeah.
Because it's my precious.
Yes. I literally am probably going to call this episode "My Precious" or something to that effect. So yeah, we'll see when it comes out.
I think I'd have to, if I get one of these, I'd have to call it the Andy Circus.
Yeah. That's a good name. I like that. But circus with the circus, not his spelling. Yeah.
But that's probably going to get stolen now. So
yeah. So my question is two-part. I think is do you see the ramifications of the jetpack on the Geo? I think that is going to be wide sweeping. It's really interesting. I think it's going to show what other Titan suits are kind of coming. I think it shows that like once the combat stuff comes in, I would be really surprised if we don't get a combat Titan suit of some description at Invictus. That like knowing that they've worked on multiples, I'll be really surprised if there's not a bunch there. They're going to spread out over the year, like Agrid said, a salvage one and a few others.
And thinking of a combat Titan suit, the very first Titan suit we ever saw was a Titan suit with a size 1 weapon attached to the end.
Yep. So getting back to my question,
in artist drawings and stuff.
In the middle of my question, but getting back to my question, do you see the ramifications of the Geo? And I think the second part of that is obviously, does this Golem speak to you? What are your thoughts on it, like the price and stuff like that? I think we can all agree it feels like it has to be cheaper, but I'm just not sure exactly where it's going to land, because also remember there was a size difference between the Vulture and the Fortune, and they were the same price. So I'm looking at more not based really on size so much. I'm looking at it more based on interior versus no interior. You're essentially losing functionality. You've got no bed, no kitchen. You've got no ability to repair yourself internally. So there's some big things there that you're losing. But what do you get in return for that reduced price? And I think at the moment, especially down the road, I think those things will become more and more apparent.
Yeah.
But I just want to know what you guys think, because it is it's tricky. Like the last one was really tricky to work out.
Well, you think of it in terms of the components are all on the outside, which makes it a fighter in terms of that aspect.
Yeah, it does.
It's a single seat thing, so if you've got to repair it, you've got to get out and EVA and do stuff, or land on a pad and do stuff. That is fighter territory. That is, that brings it down to that, Arrow type pricing.
Does make it does make it simpler though too, because like it seems easier to pull
ties in with Drake,
the bags off and off as well. So as I said, the only nitpick I have is the way that little it's almost like a little train. They had like trains along the arm, and I was just like, I would have just made that twice as long, put a fold in it, and it would have just folded up and over and gone into the little hole. Problem solved.
Yeah, I could see possibly it was a space thing, like that was easier and took up less space than.
Just would have looked really cool to see this kind of
collapse onto each other,
unfurling octopus-like type of thing come out. Would have been really interesting. But
the unfurling would look good, but the fact that it's an extending arm means it's actually the same thickness, whereas a folding arm actually doubles the thickness. So it could have been one of those aspects, but at the end of the day, it was probably rule of cool.
Yeah. All right. Well, with that, then I think we'll leave it there. So don't forget to like, subscribe, ring that notification bell. And thank you to everyone that went the extra mile on Patreon at the end of the video. Again, don't forget to let us know your thoughts, anything outside the box of what we asked as well, because I think much like last time, it's a little clearer than the Fortune or the Prospector, but I think we're all still learning on this one. It's all fresh. It's not even 24 hours old. So we'll be releasing this really early in the upover, so you guys can get out there and share your thoughts with us, and we'll all learn together. All right, with that then, he's been Argrid.
He's been Execute, and we're out of here. Take care.
See you, citizens.